I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
A 15-year-old girl vanishes without a trace, and nearly a year and a half later, her decomposed remains are discovered in one of the last places anyone would expect: the front trunk of a Tesla registered to a rising music star. How did Celeste Rivas Hernandez end up there? And perhaps more disturbing, what aren't police telling us? The story doesn't begin in the Hollywood Hills. It begins with a girl who was loved, a girl whose family searched desperately, a girl many in the system wrote off as a runaway. But as we'll soon uncover, those missing reports were only the first red flag. Now imagine this. You send your daughter to school in the morning, expecting her laughter to fill your home later that day. Instead, hours turn into days, days into months, and when you finally get answers, they come in the most horrifying way imaginable. Celeste's case isn't just about a missing child. It's about unanswered questions, celebrity connections, and an investigation that has left the public furious at the silence. And just when you think you know where this story is headed, new details emerge that change everything. Details buried in search warrants, live stream rumors, and the one question haunting everyone: if the evidence is so close to home, why has no one been arrested? I'll be following every twist of this case, and if you want to stay updated as new revelations come out, make sure you subscribe right now, because the truth about Celeste Rivas Hernandez is only beginning to unfold.
Celeste Rivas Hernandez was only 15 years old, just 15, still in that fragile place between childhood and adulthood, where every decision feels huge and every mistake feels permanent. She lived in Texas, surrounded by family and friends who never imagined she'd become the center of a story like this. On April 5th, 2024, Celeste was reported missing. At first, authorities logged it as a runaway. And that's where the cracks in this case begin to show. Because this wasn't the first time. Celeste had been labeled a runaway 3 separate times before. To the system, she was just another teenager who left home willingly. But to those who knew her, Celeste was a child in danger. And here's where the questions start to pile up. Why was she running? Was it normal teenage rebellion, or was she running from something or someone that nobody around her fully understood? Think about this for a moment. Across the United States, nearly half of missing teen reports get classified as runaways. And once that label sticks, resources vanish. No Amber Alerts, no urgent searches, no helicopters scanning the sky. And sadly, no real sense of panic from the public, because society hears runaway and assumes the child will come back when they're ready. But what if they never do? Her family pleaded with authorities to look harder. They begged them not to dismiss her as just another runaway. But as days turned into weeks, rumors started flooding the internet. Some said she'd been spotted walking on a busy street. Others swore she was hanging out at parties. And each rumor only made the case colder, because police could point to those whispers and say, "See, she doesn't want to be found." But here's the twist. When investigators questioned her closest friends, they discovered something. Celeste had been talking about a relationship with someone older, someone she refused to name. She dropped vague hints, almost as if she was protecting this person, or maybe protecting herself.
So now the runaway theory doesn't feel so simple anymore, does it? If Celeste was involved with someone older, did she leave on her own, or was she lured away? This is where we hit a pattern that's impossible to ignore. Over and over, vulnerable teens vanish, and the runaway label keeps authorities from digging deeper. The statistics are brutal. 1 in 6 endangered runaways are likely victims of human trafficking. 1 in 6. So I want to ask you, do you think the system fails teens the moment they're called runaways? I genuinely want your thoughts in the comments, because cases like Celeste's are happening in communities everywhere. And just when her family felt completely ignored, another curveball hit. Months into her disappearance, anonymous accounts started appearing on social media. They claimed Celeste hadn't left voluntarily. They hinted she'd been taken, that she was being hidden. No proof, no names, just cryptic posts that raised more questions than answers. Could this have been internet trolls stirring panic? Or could it have been someone close to the truth trying to sound the alarm without revealing themselves? The line between rumor and reality blurred quickly. And yet, the police still didn't act with urgency. No arrests, no official suspects, just a missing girl whose name slowly faded from the news cycle until the day her body was discovered in a place no one could have ever imagined.
17 long months passed without answers. For Celeste's family, each day felt like an eternity. And then, on September 8th, 2025, the silence broke in the most horrifying way imaginable. At a tow yard in Los Angeles, workers noticed something unusual. A foul odor, sharp and undeniable, was seeping from the front trunk of a Tesla. They thought at first it might be spoiled food, maybe even a dead animal trapped inside. But the smell was too strong, too human. And when they forced the compartment open, what they found would change this case forever. Inside the frunk lay human remains, decomposed, fragile, and heartbreaking. It was the body of a young girl. Investigators moved quickly, but carefully. They knew this wasn't just a routine discovery. The condition of the body suggested it had been there for some time, wrapped in layers, concealed in a way that almost spoke of both panic and intention. And then came the shockwave. The Tesla wasn't just any car abandoned at a tow yard. It was registered to rising music star. How long had she been there?
When forensic examiners began their work, details emerged that raised more questions than answers. The body showed signs of concealment, layers of material, possibly blankets or plastic sheeting. But there were no immediate signs of violence visible at the scene. No gunshot wounds, no obvious trauma. The cause of death would have to wait for an autopsy. And here's where the plot twists again. Sources close to the investigation whispered about something odd. Celeste's body may not have been in the Tesla the entire time she was missing. Think about that. 17 months gone, yet signs suggested her remains were placed in the vehicle more recently. If that's true, then where was Celeste all that time? And who decided that a celebrity's car would become her final hiding place? The discovery left the LAPD scrambling. Evidence was pulled from the vehicle. Security cameras from nearby lots were seized. And yet, the official statements were cautious, almost too careful. Authorities stressed that D4vd was cooperating fully, that he wasn't considered a suspect. But to the public, that felt incomplete. Because whether or not he was guilty, his name was now permanently attached to a tragedy. His car, his headlines, his tour now canceled. And so I'll ask you this. Should celebrities be treated differently in cases like this? Does fame protect them, or does it put them under an even harsher spotlight? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this debate has already divided millions online. But as the world argued about guilt, innocence, and celebrity privilege, Celeste's family faced the most painful reality of all. Their missing daughter hadn't been found alive. She was gone. And the way she was discovered only deepened the mystery of how she got there in the first place.
The discovery of Celeste's body set off a firestorm, but it also triggered a wave of police activity. Within days, LAPD detectives descended on a Hollywood Hills property tied to D4vd. Armed with search warrants, they combed through the home, seizing electronics, hard drives, and anything that could connect the timeline of Celeste's disappearance to the young celebrity's world. Neighbors described the scene as surreal, rows of black SUVs, evidence bags being carried out, and investigators who refused to answer a single question. Every movement was captured by waiting cameras, feeding the public's hunger for answers. Yet, despite the intensity of the search, no arrests were made. Not then, not now. Why? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Forensic experts revealed that Celeste's body was so badly decomposed that identifying a cause of death would take weeks, maybe even months. Without knowing how she died, investigators couldn't say if this was homicide, an accident, or something else entirely. And until they knew that, their hands were tied. Legal experts weighed in. Owning the car or having your name on the registration isn't enough to establish probable cause for an arrest. In other words, yes, the Tesla was linked to D4vd, but unless prosecutors could prove he put her there or even knew about it, a judge wouldn't authorize charges. It's a frustrating reality. Evidence exists, but the law demands more than suspicion, which leaves us all asking, if not him, then who? And if not now, then when? Meanwhile, investigators kept quiet. Press conferences gave the same line again and again. The investigation is ongoing, no suspects at this time. But silence in a case like this only fuels speculation. So how did Celeste's body end up in that car? Police aren't saying. And the fallout wasn't just in courtrooms or crime labs. The media blasted images of the tow yard. News stations replayed the discovery on loop. Social media showed screenshots of D4vd's Instagram. Fans dissecting every lyric, every post, every live stream. Headlines screamed about canceled tours and lost sponsorships. But behind the noise, one truth cut through. A 15-year-old girl was gone. And somewhere in all that silence, someone knows why. If you believe Celeste deserves justice, let's fill this space with light. Drop a candle emoji in the comments below, and let's make sure her name is never forgotten. While investigators searched homes and headlines dissected every detail, Celeste's family was living a nightmare no family should ever endure. For them, this wasn't about police strategy, celebrity connections, or online theories. It was about their daughter. Shortly after the discovery, the family released a public statement. In it, they described their heartbreak and their disbelief that after 17 months of searching, their little girl had been found in such a horrifying way. They announced a GoFundMe to help with funeral costs, and they revealed something that hit like a punch to the chest. Celeste's funeral was scheduled for October 4th, 2025, a date no parent should ever have to circle on a calendar. Her sister took to social media soon after, and her message was sharp. Rumors had been swirling, people speculating about Celeste's choices, about whether she had run away willingly, even about whether the family knew more than they were saying. But her sister shut that down with raw emotion.
She said, "Don't you dare make up stories about my little sister. She was a child. She deserved protection, not judgment." Those words struck a chord. It's easy for strangers online to turn tragedy into gossip. But for Celeste's family, every cruel comment was another wound, another reminder that grief doesn't shield you from scrutiny. And yet, amid the cruelty, there was also compassion. In her hometown of Lake Elsinore, the community gathered for a candlelight vigil. Hundreds of people, neighbors, classmates, even strangers who had followed her case, stood shoulder to shoulder, candles flickering in the night. They spoke Celeste's name. They prayed. They cried. They promised her family that she would not be forgotten. Some people carried signs that read "Justice for Celeste." Others wore shirts with her photo, smiling the way she had before everything changed. One teacher said, "She wasn't just a headline. She was a girl with dreams." For Celeste's family, this vigil was more than symbolic. It was a reminder that in their darkest hour, they were not alone. But it was also bittersweet, because no amount of candles or prayers could bring her back. If you've stayed with me this far, you're not just a viewer. You're part of a community that wants answers, a community that believes Celeste's life mattered. Make sure you join us by subscribing so together we can keep her story alive and demand justice for the voiceless.
D4D, a rise at business deals. Online, fans turned into detectives. Every lyric he had ever written, every tattoo on his skin, every live stream he'd posted was suddenly placed under a microscope. Some claimed his songs were filled with hidden meanings, that he'd been foreshadowing darker truths all along. Others insisted the tattoos on his arms hinted at secrets he never meant to share. A clip from one of his Instagram lives began circulating. In it, he seemed shaken, distracted, as if holding something back. Thousands of comments flooded in, with some swearing it was proof he knew more than he was saying. Others rushed to his defense, arguing that people were projecting guilt onto an artist who was simply grieving the chaos that had landed at his doorstep. And this sparked a much bigger conversation. Is it fair to link an artist's music or personal expression to a criminal investigation before the facts are even out? Or is that just the dark side of fame, where every word, every image, every silence can be twisted into evidence? Think about it. We've seen this before. Celebrities entangled in scandals, fans dissecting every piece of their art for meaning, as if their songs or movies were confessions waiting to be decoded. But does that lead us closer to the truth, or does it simply fuel a storm of speculation that clouds the real investigation?